All right. So, hi, everyone. Welcome so much. We're just so excited to see people from around the world here tonight with us. My name is Amber Featherstone. I am the Vice President for Admissions and Enrollment here at Minerva. And I love seeing those of you that have your cameras on. That's a very Minerva thing, that you have to be on camera at all times. And so today's presentation is an overview of Minerva, who we are, what we do, and we'll also cover the basics of how to apply to join us. So I'm going to present some slides. If you would like, please feel free to put questions directly in the chat, and then I will be answering those once I'm done with the slides. If something pops up and you have a question right away, feel free just to unmute yourself and interrupt me. We're very discussion based here and interactive, so I want you all to feel that way even in this presentation. So again, thank you so much for joining us. So Minerva's mission is that we educate aspiring global leaders committed to creating a safe, sustainable, and just future. And we were founded on the idea that today's traditional higher education model is really just not adequately training students to meet the needs of our ever-changing world. And so this is where our mission comes from, and this is why we are who we are. So first of all, we want you to learn here at Minerva. And we have a very innovative approach to academics. So we've designed a full undergraduate experience that combines these four core principles: practical knowledge, active learning, global immersion, and project-based learning. And we're going to go through each of those parts through this presentation today. So first of all, we are very focused on developing practical knowledge. And so here at Minerva, students intentionally and relentlessly practice a defined set of 80 interdisciplinary, skill-based habits of mind throughout the 4 years of study in all of our majors, subjects, and courses. And so learning outcomes are enforced through spaced, deliberate practice, regular formative feedback, and a suite of evidence-based curricular concepts. So we believe that this model forms the basis for Minerva University students' unprecedented ability to really solve complex problems that span multiple contexts. So we teach these things through, or teach these skills, excuse me, through clearly defined learning objectives that we call habits of mind and foundational concepts. If you know a Minervan, you might hear them refer to these as the HCs. And these are basically a set of concepts that, if mastered, can give you a systematic framework through which you can approach complex problem solving. So to give you an example, an aspect of critical thinking is being able to analyze alternative choices and identify their respective trade-offs. So part of weighing each choice is considering the different types of future costs and benefits for all stakeholders, and then reacting accordingly. And so this habit is described at length, but we simply label it by the shorthand utility. And all of our HCs, we use hashtags, so it would be hashtag utility. So when you're discussing decision making, you might refer to hashtag utility as an aspect of your thinking. And so this is just a very short snippet, as are the things on the screen, that can kind of show you how we weave, again, these 80 habits of mind and foundational concepts into everything we teach here, again, with the goal of giving you the skills that you will need to solve problems in the future, problems that we probably can't even imagine yet, problems that don't exist in today's world, but that will in 10, 15, 20 years. And so the goal at Minerva is not just to send you out into the world with memorized facts that you can then, spit out onto an exam or onto a paper. It's more about giving you these skills that will help you approach any problem that you encounter now or in the future. And so at Minerva, all first-year students take the same courses, and we call these our cornerstone courses. And these courses are structured to teach you to apply 4 key competencies across multiple disciplines. So they teach you to think critically and think creatively, and they teach you to communicate effectively and to interact effectively. So when we look at the first year cornerstone courses, they're teaching these foundational concepts and habits of mind that I mentioned earlier, and that is going to be reinforced throughout all 4 years of study. So specific educational goals are identified for each course with enough precision to be taught through examples and exercises. So again, we're all about engaging learning, not just lectures or you absorbing the information. We want you to work with the information. We want you to practice it. And the content for the Cornerstone courses is based upon a set of highly complex, big questions that demand multidisciplinary solutions. So everything in these courses, again, revolves around these big questions where you're going to have to pull from all the different disciplines in order to answer these questions or solve these problems. And again, it's all about being hands-on and focused in this first year. So in the first year, again, students are all taking these same Cornerstone courses. It doesn't matter what you're interested in studying long term. It doesn't matter what major you plan to declare. Everybody starts the first year with the same foundation. And then in the second semester of the first year, you will go through a process to declare your major and or your minors and your concentrations in your majors. So then when you move into the second year that we've labeled here as direction, you'll start taking the courses that are specific to the majors that you've selected. So that's really when you start taking the content courses for those areas of study where you want to focus. Third year, or what we call the focus year, is where students begin to really hone in on their specific focus and concentration within their majors. And they also begin to start outlining their capstone project. So they start thinking about what that capstone project might look like. They start working towards outlining the work that they'll need to do in the fourth year. And then in the fourth year is when students finish up all of their required courses and they focus a lot of their time on the capstone project, which again is an independent project that brings everything that you've learned over the course of the 4 years together to create a really unique and purposeful final project. So our hope for the capstone projects that you do is that it's the springboard to your next step. So sometimes we see capstone projects that are deep research papers. Maybe if you're in natural sciences, you might do a research paper. We see our entrepreneurial students creating business plans for the company that they plan to start when they graduate from Minerva. So there's a lot of options for the capstone. It's very unique and it's very individual to each student. But as you work through your 4 years, your faculty advisor and also your career advisor, they're going to be helping you figure out what is that project, what will help you get to that next stage after you graduate from Minerva. So we do offer 5 colleges under which students can major or concentrate here at Minerva. And I know a question that I get a lot is whether you can double major or can you major in one area and minor in another? And the answer is yes to both of those questions. Minerva has really designed its curriculum and its degree requirements to be very flexible because, again, our focus is on each unique student and their individual goals, their individual pathway, and where they want to go. And where you want to go after graduation is going to be different than other students. And so we really want to make sure that everything is tailored uniquely to the student. A lot of Minervans are creating brand new pathways that no one has ever dreamed up before, or they're forging, new career paths. And we're here to help them with that by giving them that flexibility in the majors and the minors that they choose. On the screen here, you can see some of our minor options. And one thing that I really like to point out here is that we do offer 3 unique interdisciplinary minors. So an interdisciplinary minor means that anyone, no matter what their major or majors are, can take one of these minors. So a good example is sustainability. We built this as our first interdisciplinary minor because we know that sustainability is going to be important to everyone, regardless of what their career path is, whether you are an arts and humanities major or a natural sciences major. Sustainability is going to be key to your work and to your future. And so that's the idea behind these interdisciplinary minors, is that they can pull from any of our colleges to really round out a student's understanding of these specific areas. So all of our curriculum is really designed to be active and engaged learning. And so the classes at Minerva are active seminar style classes. We do not do lectures here at Minerva. And our classes take place in an online environment that we built. So it's so much more active and engaging than a traditional Zoom class. Our classes are capped around 20 to 23 students per class. Like I said at the top of this call, everyone's on screen in class. Everyone must participate. Our students do pre-work before class, and then they come to class ready to interact, ready to work with the material and engage in lively discussion, both with the professor and with their fellow students. And really, we think that the technology is just a conduit to everything that we can do. So in addition to your classes, everything in the curriculum is also tied to activities and projects in the cities in which our students will live and travel. And so throughout the 4 years, students are also engaging in hands-on practical experiences that ensure that they grasp the subject fully and not just the theory behind it. So you're taking everything that you discuss in the classes and then you're backing it up with really hands-on real-world experience throughout the 4 years. So what does this look like? So first of all, we have a global immersion model here at Minerva. So our students live and learn with classmates from over 100 countries across 4 continents in their 4 years of study. And so on the screen here, you see some of our current and past rotation cities, but this is what you can expect with being a student at Minerva. So again, the classes are online, so you can take them from anywhere in the world. They are live, they are synchronous, but our students can be in San Francisco or Tokyo, they can be in Buenos Aires or Taipei, and still taking their classes, still engaging with their professors and their fellow student colleagues while they travel. And so, as I mentioned, we currently have over 100 countries represented in the Minerva student body. And a key aspect of our program is that our students are not only traveling the world during their 4 years, but they're doing it with an incredibly diverse group of students. So our goal is not that you're only learning about different cultures, perspectives, and ways of thinking from the places that you're visiting or where you're living, but you're also learning about all of those different perspectives from the students that you are studying with. And we have fantastic student life teams on the ground in every city that you travel to. And they curate events in each city that are really focused on community building, both within the Minerva community and also externally facing with the local community as well. Community is something that's very important to Minerva. We have a lot of traditions, a lot of events that we host each year for our students to really both, again, engage with the Minerva student body, but also externally with the communities where they are. And we've really built this university to combine global immersion with project-based learning. So we want our students to be exposed to new places and perspectives, but also provide them with the opportunity to engage and immerse themselves. So in each rotation city, we carefully curate a slate of experiences that are really designed to provide cultural immersion and understanding, but that also gives students real hands-on experience in their areas of focus, and that provides students with an opportunity to deep dive into challenges and finding solutions for lasting impact. So, as I've mentioned before, hands-on experiences are a really fundamental part of Minerva's experience and our curriculum. So, to give you an idea of what some of these look like, first we have civic projects. So, civic projects here at Minerva are opportunities that are offered each year and in every rotation city, and they allow a student to do work with a local organization or a business. And in the later years, students are matched with organizations that are aligned to their own goals or their own areas of interest and focus. So these are organizations that have sought out Minerva students to help them do work to solve real challenges that they are experiencing. So in these civic projects, students really gain valuable experience that they can put on their resumes, and they build out their network of colleagues who are in the same field as they are hoping to go into around the world. So the civic projects not only give you resume building experience, but also help you to build your network. We also have something called location-based assignments here at Minerva. So every single Minerva University course requires students to complete integral portions of the coursework based on what we call location-based assignments. So these are assignments that must be completed in person, on location, and are a required and substantial portion of a student's work in the class. So these are assignments that will force you out of the residence hall and into the communities in which you are living so that you can get to know those communities, get to tie in what you're learning in your classes to things that are impacting those communities or how those communities function and operate. So again, we're tying the curriculum back into the places where you are living and learning. Students at Minerva also have opportunities to gain real internship either during the semester, but also during the summer. And I think it's a great number. 97% of Minervans complete at least one internship prior to graduation. So there are really a lot of opportunities to take advantage of while you're studying at Minerva. And then we also have labs. So labs are an essential part of the Minerva experience. So whether you're a natural science major looking for lab experiences in your rotation city, or a student focused on artificial intelligence and looking to gain experience in an AI lab, we have a lot of lab opportunities to connect students to in the rotation city. So again, they can get that hands-on experience that they need for their studies. All right, so here at Minerva, your career development really does start on the very first day. When you arrive in San Francisco, you are going to be greeted by members of our coaching and talent development team, and they will start working with you very heavily in your first semester. At Minerva, we work to provide you with a coach that ideally you work with all 4 years. So that coach is really going to get to know you in that first year, help you to identify your goals and your values and really where you want to be going long term. And then they help you figure out what is the best pathway to reach your goals. So this is a person that will work with you all 4 years and beyond because Minerva offers lifetime coaching support. So many of our alumni, they come back and they talk with their coaches on a regular basis, whether they're looking to grow in their current careers or change jobs, their Minerva coach is still there and able to help them long after they've graduated. And what we're doing is working. Our outcomes are really strong. So 91% of our graduates are either pursuing their career of interest or they are enrolled in a graduate program of interest at 6 months after graduation. So that means they're either in a job that they want to be in that's related to their field or moving on to a graduate program at 6 months after graduation. 12% of our graduates have gone on to found or co-found their current organization and secured startup funding. So if you're an entrepreneurial student, we're definitely a great home for that. And 15% of our alumni are continuing their education with master's programs, doctorate programs, or academic fellowships. So there's a lot of different pathways that our students take after graduation. To give you an idea, here's a couple of our notable alumni. We have Alicia and Ruja, who founded Seabound. which is a climate tech company. We have Alberto, who founded the Transcend Network, and he has basically built a startup incubator to help other early stage founders find funding. And then we have current students, so these guys haven't even graduated yet, so Jan and Hubert have founded Econverse, which is an NGO that was inspired by Minerva's active learning model. So again, really great opportunities for our alumni. And then, as I mentioned before, our alumni are going on to really prestigious master's and PhD programs. On the screen, you see Gal Rubin. She was our first Rhodes Scholarship. We actually have 2 alumni who have achieved the Rhodes Scholarship at this point. You see, we also have students that gain really phenomenal awards, such as the Diana Award, or Satiq, who was just named as a fellow to the Royal Astronomical Society. So again, whether you've graduated or you're still a student, there's a lot of opportunities for Minervans. And to give you an idea here, so what you see on the screen is a list of our leading employers. So these are companies where our students have gone on to work since graduating from Minerva. And you also see a list of select graduate and professional schools where our students have gone on to study. So again, top prestigious institutions in the world have accepted Minerva students for further study. So let's talk about how you become a Minervan, right? That's why you're all here tonight, I hope, because you're planning to submit your application when this call ends. So who belongs at Minerva, right? I always find it really fascinating how we bring in a very diverse group of students from all over the world with all sorts of different interests and backgrounds. But really, they're all similar in a lot of ways. Minervans tend to be very intellectually curious. They're deeply driven, and probably more so than any other trait, they're inspired by the complex challenge of making the world a better place, which is what we're all striving to do. So here at Minerva, our admissions process is unique, just like the rest of our university. So instead of filling out a simple application, maybe writing an essay, providing a few letters of recommendation, or giving us your test scores, we've designed a completely different process. And it's a process that we feel is very unbiased, but also really gets to the heart of who you are, so that we can get to know you better. So this 3-part process is, first of all, a biographical section. This does kind of look like most university applications. This is your name, your address, where you go to high school or where you went to high school, just your basic information. Part 2 is what we call a series of challenges. So these are unique and interactive challenges that are timed, that really help us understand how you think. So when you're thinking about the challenges, there is a math challenge, but don't worry, you can use a calculator. There are logic puzzles. There are expression opportunities where you get to tell us more about you or the things that are important to you. So the challenges cover a wide range of parts of you, getting to know you, the ways you think, all of that. And then the third part of our application is what we call our accomplishments section. And this is where you tell us what you have done that you're proud of. So students can list up to 6 accomplishments. And these are things that they've done where maybe they've spent a lot of time, or they've made a lot of impact, or things that are just really important to them. And we love to see a variety of accomplishments when students are listing these out. Like, tell us all the things that you've spent your time on, or where you've been most passionate, because that's really how we get to know you, and get to really understand if you would be a good fit for the Minerva community. Now, I will pause here and remind everyone that throughout this week, we are hosting application week. And so we will be running workshops on just the challenges. There's a workshop specifically on the accomplishment section of the application later this week as well. And I'll drop those links in the chat before the end of this call. If you're watching this video later, don't worry. If you missed application week, there are plenty of opportunities to engage with us in these sessions throughout the application season. So to give you an idea of the application season and our deadlines. So we run 3 application cycles per year. We are currently actively involved in what we call our early action cycle. Early action is an opportunity for you to apply early and to get your decision early. So you will see here on the screen that students get notified of their admission in the early action cycle before the end of this year. So always recommended if you can to submit your application now. You have plenty of time before November 1st, so no need to stress. There's tons and tons of time to get this done, but then you get your decision early. And you still don't need to enroll until May 1st, but this gives you time to think about your Minerva decision, to continue to explore Minerva more fully, get to know us, ask us questions, and really to decide if we're the best fit for you. And then you'll see on the screen our other application cycles as well. We do offer binding enrollment. This is an option that is only available in our current cycle, the early action cycle. You should really only apply binding if you know without a doubt that Minerva is your absolute first choice and that you will 100% commit to attending if you are offered admission. And that's because binding applicants only have 10 days to decide if they want to enroll. So if you are admitted, you have 10 days to pay the $500 enrollment deposit and secure your place in the class. Now, binding is not recommended for students who need to really focus on financial aid as part of their decision, because again, you will only have those 10 days once you receive your offer of admission and your financial aid package to make the decision on whether to attend or not. If you're not sure, you can always reach out to folks on our team, and we'll be happy to talk individually with students about whether binding is the best option. We always love to see binding candidates because that means we know that Minerva is your first choice. But again, we want you to make that choice very carefully. And to give you an idea, so for those of you on this call that may be thinking of applying this year, you would be the class of 2030. That is when you would graduate from Minerva. And on the screen here, you will see the current cost, tuition, housing, and fees for this upcoming academic year. So these are costs for the 2026-27 academic year, your first year in the program. And we do offer really generous financial aid here at Minerva. All of our financial aid is what we call need-based. So the amount of financial aid that we grant to a student is solely based on their family's need, family's income, family's assets, and what we feel like is a fair share for the family to pay for the student's education. So in order to apply for financial aid, students must apply during the cycle in which they apply for admission. And you will fill out the CSS profile, which is accessible through the College Board. You will complete a Minerva financial aid questionnaire, and then you will have some documents to upload. So don't wait until the last minute to look at the financial aid application and see what is required, because there are pieces of this that will require you to get your parents involved. You may have to, talk to the banks, get some tax forms. So just make sure that you're looking at this as soon as possible. For those of you that have already started the application, you may notice that the financial aid application is not open yet. That is because the CSS profile does not get released until October 1st. So we will be opening up our financial aid application then, and students will then be able to submit their financial aid application as part of their admissions application. We do have deadlines. Essentially, the financial aid deadline is 1 week after the deadline for the admissions cycle. So we give you a little more time. We want you to focus on your admissions application first, but then you must turn to the financial aid application and make sure that you get that submitted the following week. It's really important to note that we are not able to accept late financial aid applications, that everything must be submitted by the deadlines. But don't worry, we will send you lots of emails and lots of reminders to make sure that you're aware of the deadlines and that you have time to get everything in before those deadlines pass. All right, and just to wrap this up, Minerva is a fairly new university, but we have been given some great awards over the last few years. So we were very excited that for the fourth year in a row, we have been labeled as the #1 most innovative university in the world by the World University Rankings for Innovation. And this is a new ranking system that has been around for, well, 4 years now. We were the first #1 innovative university, and we've held that spot all 4 years. But you can see based on this list that we are in good company with some other really amazing universities around the world. Here at Minerva, we love this ranking, and we're excited to continue to do what we can to remain innovative and to hold that top spot for years to come. And then recently, niche.com, if you're not familiar with it, it is a highly used college search platform, has given us some really cool rankings as well. So we received top 3% of colleges with the best academics in America, which is a huge honor. Number 15, best college for business in America. And number 17, best college for math in America. So again, really excited about being recognized again as a new university. It always takes a while for these things to kick in. And so as Minerva moves into its second decade, we're super excited for these accolades. All right, so that is the end of the presentation. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and if you guys give me a second, I see there were lots of questions in the chat, so let's see what I can hit. All right, so wanted to ask if you can talk about international student scholarship opportunities. Yes. So as I mentioned, Minerva offers need-based financial aid, and that is for every student who applies for it. So we do not base our financial aid model on your citizenship or where you're from. Again, it's solely based on your family and your family's unique needs. So everyone's considered similarly here at Minerva for financial aid. At this time, we don't offer merit-based scholarships. Again, we have tried to create a really unbiased and even process for everybody, but we do take outside scholarships. So let's say you win a scholarship in your home country or through an organization that wants to help fund some of your education, you can apply that to Minerva as well. So keep that in mind. And we always encourage students to start looking for those opportunities early and often because, every little bit can help towards funding your education. All right, somebody asked, what's the difference between doing 2 majors and 1 major and a minor? Well, so for one, 2 majors are really going to fill out your 4 years of study. So for students that double major, it does reduce the amount of elective courses that they have. But sometimes students really want to walk away with sort of expertise in 2 different areas. And, your majors can come from separate colleges. So I could be a double major in computer science and business, or computer science and arts and humanities. And we see a lot of really unique combinations like that, sometimes just because students have really strong interests in both areas, and sometimes because they have a really unique idea in their head of how they want to take those 2 seemingly different areas of study and meld them together for a job or a business opportunity. A minor means that you will take courses in an area, but it just won't be as many, right? So you'll have more limited exposure to that. So it's really up to each individual student. Some students do like the interdisciplinary minors because they really want to pick up that extra knowledge, but they don't really want to make that a whole major for themselves, or maybe they're doing a major with 2 concentrations and their schedule's already really full, and so they just want to pick up a minor. Once you get here, so again, we do not even choose our majors or start thinking about that until 2nd semester of our 1st year. And once you get here, you will be guided very carefully by both academic advisors and the career office to, again, really help shape that pathway that you want to follow. All right. So great follow-up question to this is, can you change your major? And the answer is yes, of course. At any university, you can sort of change your pathway, at least here in the United States. That's a pretty common thing, but you have to be careful. Changing your major can require you to sort of backtrack and take extra classes that maybe you didn't take already. It can also require you to take extra time to complete your degree. So again, you will be in constant communication with those advisors here that will help guide you on those decisions. But when we choose our majors here at Minerva, there's a lot of discussion that goes into it. Again, you're in the middle of the cornerstone courses in that first year. You're getting exposed to a lot of different disciplines. And so the hope is that through that exposure, you are really able to narrow down exactly what you want to study long term. All right. I'm seeing another question about majors, and I think this should cover it, but someone asked, can you triple major? And as far as I know, the answer is no. I just don't think you would have enough time to do that and to complete your studies within 4 years. So you will probably have to narrow it down to two. And yeah, I see a hand raised. You can go ahead and unmute yourself. This is Ziad.
Hi, Amber. Yes, it is. Yeah, you pronounced it
Hi.
perfectly. I'm joining from Egypt. I just wanted to ask, does Minerva have like a student government or like similar like leadership structures amongst students? And I'm just curious about how they would function as opposed to like more traditional or like boring universities.
Yeah, that's boring universities. I love it. So yes, we do. We have something called the Associated Students of Minerva, ASM. And that is basically the student government here at Minerva University. So every class at Minerva, every cohort has representatives. And those representatives do connect with the representatives from all the other classes. So again, they meet virtually for the most part. But the Associated Students of Minerva, they are there to really interface with Minerva's administration and faculty, to help resolve challenges if there are any. They advocate for student opportunities or student events, support for student organizations, and things like that. So again, every class has representatives. Those representatives do tend to change year to year. So it's a great opportunity if you want to represent the rest of your class in that sort of capacity. On that note about student government, we do offer a lot of student organizations as well. Student orgs are a big part of the Minerva experience, and we have a little bit of everything. We've had sports organizations. If you're savvy enough on Instagram, you can find the Minerva basketball team. They have played actively in both Taipei and Seoul over the last year. I think those students are in Buenos Aires this fall, so we'll have to see if they're able to kick the league into action again. We have a language learning student organization. We've had students create organizations for musical theater or just theater in general. So again, students really come together to find other like-minded students that are interested in what they want to do. There are mechanisms through Minerva where students can get funding or support from the university for their events. So really, I like to tell everyone here that the possibilities are sort of limitless here. And one thing that I love about Minerva is that the first answer to a question is never no, right? So if you've got an idea or you've got something that you really want to participate in, we always strongly recommend bringing it up because most likely it's something that we will support. All right, so I saw a question here. Do you get to pick which country you want to go to? So generally the question to that, or the answer to that is no. So our idea is that you will travel with your cohort. So that is the students. So if all of us on the screen right now start in the fall of next year as first year students at Minerva, then we will travel as a group throughout the world. So first year will be San Francisco. In our second year, we will all go to Tokyo together. And then in our third and fourth years, Minerva will set up the optional rotation for us, right? So where we will go in those third and fourth years. There is a little bit of choice when students have a reason. So sometimes a student can't get to a certain country. Maybe their visa wasn't approved. Or sometimes a student has a really good reason to be in a certain rotation city because of job opportunities. So there is a process that Minerva has where you can request to be what we call off rotation or to go, somewhere than where you're slated to go. And our student teams will work with you on that. But in general, the idea is that you follow the rotation model that we set. We do try to set out where you're going at least 1 year in advance. because you have to buy plane tickets. We want you to find the best prices, and we want you to know where you're headed, so that you can plan accordingly. But in terms of you just saying, okay, this year I want to go to Taipei, right? It's not quite as simple as that. So you do kind of have to follow the Minerva model. All right. Beatrice, yeah.
My question is, so if we all start this coming fall, will we be in San Francisco for the whole year?
Yes, so that is our model. Everyone starts in San Francisco in the first year, and they spend a full year there. I think we've only had one class that was an exception to that, and they only spent one semester, and then they began traveling. That was a few years ago. But the model now is that everyone starts in San Francisco together. And then also, if you haven't heard, we just launched Tokyo as a new rotation city this fall. So it's starting just this year. And the plan is for second year students to always go to Tokyo. So in terms of your pathway, first year San Francisco, second year Tokyo, and then you would fall into one of those other rotation cities that I showed you on the slide.
Okay, thank you. Also, when we're in these different countries, are we going to be getting lessons on the local language?
That's a great question. So here at Minerva right now, we don't teach language courses. So the way the students do this, it really varies student to student. Some students study languages as part of their high school studies, so they wait until they get to that specific city where they can use those language skills and they really try to immerse themselves. I mentioned earlier we have a student organization called Langs, Langs. You can also find them on Instagram. And that is where students get together to study different language groups. So there's a Spanish group, and there's a French group, and there's an Arabic group. So it really depends on the student. Some students take classes in the cities. So every major city in the world offers language classes for visitors, and so that's an option as well. In Tokyo, we were given a grant to also provide for the first time ever a Japanese culture course, and that course is going to include some language, but not to fluency or anything like that. But we're hoping that that's a model that we can continue to replicate because we think having a deeper understanding of a place's culture is really important.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. Somebody asked, are there any international relations majors at Minerva? Yes. So a lot of our majors can be turned into international relations. So we have majors that sort of span like your traditional political science or your history focus. If you go onto our website, you'll notice that these fall into different disciplines, primarily social sciences and arts and humanities. We get a lot of students who are interested generally in international relations, and what better place to study it than where you're traveling the world with people from all over the world. So keep in mind that everything you do at Minerva is going to be very internationally focused, right? You're going to be studying these different places that you're living in. You're going to be tying in information about these places to your assignments and the work that you do. And so that is a pretty common major for our students, or a common area of focus. And then they turn it into different majors or a selection of a major and minor to meet their needs. Yeah. Junyok?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
A pleasure to meet you. I'm Junhyuk Choi from South Korea, and I was wondering if there in Minerva is there an event like school festivals or opportunities to tighten the bond between students?
Yeah, so I know I mentioned this briefly in the slide. So traditions are very important here at Minerva. So we have traditions that carry from residence hall to residence hall. My favorite one is one that we call the 10:01. So the story behind the 10:01, which refers to a time, 10:01 p.m. at night to be exact. In the first year of Minerva, every day of the week, students had assignments due at 10 o'clock p.m. at night. So Monday through Thursday, they had to submit these assignments by 10 p.m. And so at 10:01, they would all fall out of their dorm rooms and lay on the floor and sigh and say, okay, thank goodness we submitted our assignments. And then they would usually celebrate with food or something else. And so the 10:01s have now turned into this opportunity where students can get together with other students from their home country or their culture. They present on their country and culture, Minerva provides them money so that they can also cook a meal or cook some sort of snack from their culture. And I just love that. I love that the opportunity for the students to get together. We do a lot over meals. A lot is surrounding food and our traditions. But I love that the 1001s are an opportunity for students to really get to, better understand where everyone's from, and what's important to them in their culture. We do a lot of activities. So we have multiple feasts throughout the year. So again, big meals where we all get together and break bread and, share different traditions. And so throughout your time at Minerva, you will have these traditions that carry with you from residence hall to residence hall. So these are things that the students do, that the student life teams help them support. Also, in every city, there's a whole slate of student life activities. So there's lots of activities to help you understand the culture or that are tied to the curriculum, but there's also just fun activities. So they offer opportunities for cooking classes, right? To cook the local cuisine of a city, or they do city exploration days. So there is a really robust student life here at Minerva. Our academics are rigorous and you will be studying a lot, but we also want you to have fun along the way, and really make memories with your fellow student colleagues. So I hope that helps answer your question.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Layla.
Hi,
Hi.
can you hear me, please? Hi, how are you? My name is Leila Usman from Niger.
Hi, Layla. Yes. What's your question?
My question is that since you got to travel a lot during your time at Minerva, I was wondering if you guys have an actual campus and campus facilities like health centers, like counselors, or things like that you normally have on traditional campuses, because when I checked your website, I saw that you don't really have a fixed campus. So I was wondering if even though you guys travel a lot, you have those facilities.
Yeah, great question, Layla. So we consider ourselves to be a university without a campus. But I really don't know that that's true, because we also say that our students make the cities their campus. So the way that we are set up, in every city, we have a residence hall where students live together. So you don't have to find your own housing when you're traveling around the world with us. And we have Minerva faculty and staff on the ground in every city to help support you. So when it comes to things like health centers, right? Every city is going to look a little different, but you will have health insurance and you will be told where to go to the doctor. I know last year I was at the opening week of events in Buenos Aires, and there students go to a private hospital that's just a few blocks away from the residence hall. And the teams there tell the students how to do that. So those type of facilities, anything that you need can be found in these large cities. And one thing that I think is really cool is that as Minerva students have traveled the world to these different cities, they've figured out, kind of like the best place to get your morning coffee, or the best place to get, your burrito or things like that, or the best doctor or the best grocery store. And they leave that information for future Minervans coming behind them. So you're not starting from scratch. Only our students in Tokyo this semester are really starting from scratch and having to figure all that out for the next class of Minervans. But again, you will have all of those resources, Layla, and there will be student tips and tricks that are left for you. And the student life team there is there to help. So, I always also tell people that if it's an emergency, if you need translation help because you don't speak Spanish and you're in Buenos Aires, right? The team there is there to help you. They are on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So there's always an emergency phone number that you can call to get that assistance if you need it.
Thank you so
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, Sasuke.
Firstly, thank you for all the information. It was really helpful.
Yeah.
And I've heard that the Minerva community has very strong connections, and I'd like to know how graduates remain involved with the Minerva community after they graduate.
Yeah. So yeah, you can imagine if you go through this really unique experience and there's, right now I think there's right around 1,000 students that have had this experience and graduated from Minerva. You're a small group of people that have experienced something really extraordinary and different. So the Minerva alumni community is highly connected. What I have found is, Sasuke, it doesn't matter if you graduated 5 years ago and I'm thinking about attending Minerva, right? Like you would be so happy to help me answer questions. And I know a lot of prospective students have reached out to former Minervans on Instagram or LinkedIn and connected with them. We do have an alumni community. We have staff that focus on building that community and keeping that community informed. We're constantly seeking the input of our alumni, their feedback. We ask them for help in talking to new students like you guys. And our alumni get together typically every other year, and they have sort of a retreat here in the United States. And then also the classes will organize their own get together. So I can't remember which graduating class it was, but a group just got together in Berlin this summer. So a group of graduates. So, we really do believe in this being a lifelong commitment and experience here at Minerva. So just like you will have career support for the rest of your life, you'll also have the support of that alumni community. And one of the real reasons that we founded Minerva was to create this network of future global leaders. And that's really what we believe all of our students are. And so, our hope is that when you graduate, you have new best friends from all over the world that are one day going to be the president or the prime minister of countries, or, people in big corporate positions, and just a really strong network to lean on.
Thank you.
Yeah. Who was first? Is it Maydot? Did I get that wrong?
Can I speak first?
Yeah, please.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Madhut and I'm from Ethiopia. And my question was, are there any graduate programs, like after the undergraduate program, are there any graduate programs to pursue?
Yes.
That's my question.
That's a great question. Thank you so much for asking it. So we do offer one master's degree program right now. We are expecting to be offering more in the years to come. But our program right now is a master's in applied decision making and analytics. And you can find the information for that on our website. And we do love it when Minerva graduates join us in that program as well. That program is for working professionals, so it doesn't move around the world. It's a fully online graduate program, but they do have immersion weeks, so where the students in that program get together twice a year in major cities to work on projects together. So definitely check it out on our website. Hayon.
Hi, I'm Hayan Bang, and I am a student who's attending a school called Alternative School in Korea,
Oh,
which
cool.
is it's very uncommon and it's very different from the public schools. So that is why I really feel I'm very connected to Minerva's education, and I don't know if they are the same, but I think the Minerva's education way that goes out of the classrooms and use the
Yeah.
city as the campus and do a lot of activities is I feel like it's the education I really want, and maybe I have already experienced. So I had a question about it. Since Minerva prefers those kind of activities on learning, I was wondering if Minerva prefers students who are eager to learn and engage in projects anywhere, or a student who is highly academic and logical.
Yeah, so we want both. Can we have students who have all of those traits, right? So Hayan, like you, we get a lot of applicants every year from different types of high school experiences, right? Alternative schools, like what you described yours as, students who are homeschooled, students who attend, schools where everything is hands-on and maybe there's no exams and no grades and things like that, right? And so our admissions team is really great, first of all, at evaluating every student, regardless of their background. We also get students from traditional public schools or private schools or online schools, right? So I always encourage students from those different backgrounds to apply because, like you said, I think, you've already figured out that that's the type of education that you want and that Minerva can provide it to you. We have really designed our application process to be very holistic and very unbiased. And so what that means, it makes my job really hard because students will say, well, what is the minimum grade I have to get admitted to Minerva? Or, what are the 3 accomplishments I must list in order to get into Minerva? And there's no answer to any of those because Hayon, you might be really good at math, but I might be really good at art, and we could both be admitted because we want both of those types of students, right? We want different types of thinkers. We want different perspectives. We want students coming from backgrounds with different experiences, right? You go to an alternative high school, I go to a traditional public school, but we're going to bring that experience to the classroom here at Minerva. So really, I always, if a student is asking, well, what are you looking for? Or, what students get admitted? There's really no simple answer to that. And so I always tell students, like, just come to us as yourself, because that's really what we want to see. And be yourself in your application and don't think, what does Minerva want to hear when I answer this question? Really just be yourself. And it's those students who are usually successful in our application process. Does that answer your question, sort of, even though I can't answer exactly what we're looking for?
Oh, it was a great answer. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mohammed,
Hello there, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
All right. So I'm Muhammad Ali from Pakistan, right? I had to ask, what year exactly do internships start for students?
Yeah, so we
Because
have,
traditional universities, they tend to do this where like they start from like the second semester onwards. They don't really try it at the first. So I was just curious about that.
right, that's a great question. So we do a couple of different things that are sort of internship-like or internship adjacent here at Minerva. So the first is those civic projects that I mentioned, where you will work with a local organization or business to help them solve a real problem. In the first year, those are required. So every student does a civic project. And they tend to be more general, right? Because you haven't chosen your major yet. So we don't know if you should be working with a technology company or working in a science lab. As you move into the later years, the civic projects are more tailored to a student's interest, a student's major, things like that. Internships like outside of Minerva, those typically start in the first summer. So not every student gets an internship in the first summer. That's probably the most difficult summer to get an internship in, again, because you haven't started studying your major courses yet. But some students do get internships then. And then as you move along the rest of the 3 years after that, those opportunities become more prevalent. Does that help answer your question?
It does actually. Thank you.
You're welcome. Nuran?
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
Oh,
I'm Minerva from Institute.
Nuran, we're having a hard time hearing you, so I'm gonna ask you to maybe put your question in the chat and I'll scroll down and find it if you want to do that.
Okay.
And Alan, let's go with you.
My question is, what's the advantage of the biting enrollment option? Because I was curious about what's the difference between taking this option or not taking it.
Yeah, the biggest advantage to you, Alan, is that you'll get your decision within 4 weeks of completing your application. Now, here's the thing. There's going to be a time period in the early action cycle where that really no longer is an advantage, right? Because if you finish your application, I guess really by the first deadline, then you're probably going to get your decision around the same time as everyone else in the early action period. But if you finished your application today, for example, you would find out your admission decision in early October. So our commitment is to get you the decision within 4 weeks of you submitting everything in your application. Your commitment is saying that you will enroll, if admitted, within 10 days of getting that decision.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Saul.
Okay, I have a question right now. I'm currently finished my bachelor's of science in biology.
Oh, cool.
I should be finished in fall 2028 or 2029. I was wondering, I plan on finishing this bachelor's degree, but I want to know if I could if I know a third bachelor's degree is not required. I'm just interested in it. So I was wondering, would Minerva still allow me into the school if I was applying for and stuff like that? Also,
Yeah.
okay.
So like applying for a second bachelor's degree. So after you finish this first one, doing another 4 years.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think we've had 1 or 2 students do that in the past, and you certainly can. The only difference there is that for students who have already completed a master's, or not a master's, an undergraduate degree, a bachelor's degree, it does change their opportunity for financial aid with us. And you can find that information on our website. So I would just recommend you think about that. But certainly possible to do a second bachelor's degree if that's something that you really wanted to do.
I meant third. I already have a first
Oh, a
one.
third one. Yeah, come on. The more the merrier, right?
Yeah. Also, another question is, if I plan to finish my current degree, should I apply now or should I wait?
You should wait. So we accept applications starting 1 year prior to a student joining the program, right? So right now we're only accepting applications for students who want to enroll in the program in the fall of 2026. So you should wait until 1 year before you would want to join us, and then you can start the application process.
Okay, thank you. Another question that I have is that one more question. What was that question going to be? One more question. Do the essays change like every year? Because I like to recommend essays early. Do they change like every year?
We do not require essays. So essays are not part of our application.
I mean, not essays. I mean like the achievements that you want us to do.
No, so these are 6 things that you share with us that you have done. And for the typical applicant, that was typically activities done during their high school years. For you, it would be, in the most recent years. And so at the time of application, you would share the 6 most important things to you that you've done.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, guys, I just realized that we are past the end time, but I will keep answering questions, let's say for another 15 minutes or so, because I know there's a lot in the chat. If I haven't gotten to your question in the chat, please feel free just to either raise your hand or put another question down there, and I'm going to start following from the bottom. Is it Rihanna?
Yes, hello.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time and amazing explanations. I have a question about you mentioning that we shouldn't really consider binding enrollment if we're quite serious about financial aid. So why is that?
So one is because if financial aid is really important to you, right? We want to make sure that when you enroll, you feel like you have the financial support you need to be successful at Minerva. Part of that's going to be the financial aid package that we offer, right? But for students where that's just a really big piece, we don't offer full rides. We don't cover all parts of the costs. And so we just really want to make sure that you understand all the costs that are involved, and that you feel comfortable enrolling. So I hate putting students in that 10-day pressure window to decide when they want to make sure that, they have everything covered in that way. The other reason is that we have already admitted and enrolled 2 students for next fall, and they applied binding early in the cycle, but the financial aid application isn't even open yet. So for students that applied super early in early action, they basically had to accept their offer of admission without knowing their financial aid at all. Those students will be able to apply for financial aid starting October 1st. They will then have 5 days to apply for aid, and then we will release their aid package to them after that. So part of it's timing, part of it's just making sure that you have all the information you need, that you feel really comfortable making that decision to come to Minerva. And I think, look, for most of us, the financial piece is a really important part of this equation, right? And that's where I just think it's really important for you to have all that information before you have to make that decision. Now, even if you're not binding, you can choose Minerva at any time after you receive your decision. And we love it when students say, yes, I'm ready to come. And they do it before May 1st, which is the typical deadline. So keep that in mind as well. You can always commit to Minerva once you've been admitted at any time until May 1st. And I know for some students that's important because then it's like the decision has been made and they don't have to think about it anymore and it's a weight off their shoulders. So my team here at Minerva, the enrollment admissions team, we work really closely with every single applicant. So as you guys start your applications, as you start thinking about applying or have questions about Minerva, we will be contacting you, but you can also contact us. And, you know, certainly feel free to ask us those questions.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. Is it Hannah, Yana?
Okay, hi.
Hi.
I'm Jana from Egypt.
Hi, Jana. Nice to
My
meet you.
question, do the official documents such as the grades need to be stamped by the government or the school stamp it enough?
That's a great question. So the way that students submit their transcripts or their official grades from their high school studies, so we require at least the last 3 years of studies. So if you've already started a bachelor's degree, for example, then you might include one of those years. Almost everything can be submitted digitally these days. So as part of the application process, we have something called a counselor form. And in our application system, you can email this form to your counselor. The form is available in multiple languages in case your counselor does not speak English. And they will fill out that form and they will attach your official documents. And so there's no need to get them stamped by the government or send them by post mail or anything like that. They can be submitted electronically. All right, Sakura.
Hi, I'm Sakura from Japan. My question is, you just mentioned if you have already completed one undergraduate program, it might change the financial aid opportunities, right? Does it apply to transfer students as well? Because I'm currently in, it doesn't.
No, so we do get a few transfer students every year. As long as you have not completed a bachelor's degree program, then it will not impact your financial aid.
Okay, perfect. And I have one more question.
Sure.
Does the financial aid stays the same for all 4 years, or does it change every year?
Yes, so our goal is that it stays pretty stable all 4 years. Now, tuition costs can go up slightly every year, or costs of living. Also, if a family's finances change, then your financial aid package can change. So, and it goes both ways. Like if a parent loses a job and the family's income is less, then maybe your financial aid package would be more. If your mom wins the lottery and becomes a multimillionaire, right? So maybe your financial aid package becomes less, right? So unless there's a major change in the financial situation of the family, it should stay pretty similar all 4 years.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, who's actually give me 1 second because I promised Noran that I would get to their question. So the first question is there any part of the application where you have to speak? And the answer is yes. So when you are doing the application, part 1 can be done on your cell phone, but the other parts really need to be done on a computer where you have sound, where you can utilize proctoring software, because for some of the challenges, we do capture like a video of you and a recording of your screen. And there are expression challenges where you speak. So you can think of these like a question comes up on the screen and then you answer it for us. So yes, there are parts of the application where you will speak. Again, the application is pretty engaging. A lot of students tell me it's fun to go through the different challenges and the different activities. And then the second question is, can I submit part 1 now and then submit the second part 2 weeks later? Yes. So you can start your application at any time. Part 1 is just 1 page of information, super simple to fill out. So hopefully when this call ends today, you guys are all going to go log on and at least fill out part 1, right? And then it will open up the admissions center for you. And there you can work your way through the application in different stages and at different times. So you can go in and do 2 challenges and then walk away for the day. You can work on a couple of accomplishments, do 1 challenge, and then take a break. So you can kind of mix and match when and how you do things. Just remember, we're all working towards that goal of November 1st to submit our application. But you have plenty of time, like I said. And, you know, a lot of students, especially with the accomplishments section, maybe they start a Google Doc where they, you know, or a Word doc where they write out their answers and they think through it a little bit before they post it into their application. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. All right, let's go to, I'm so sorry, guys, if I mispronounced your name. Is it Chen Xuan?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, so my question is, so regarding the question of does the scores from my high school requires evaluation from outside like institutions or something like that?
Oh, I understand. No. So generally, we do not require for your transcripts from your high school to be like evaluated by an external credential evaluator or to be officially translated. If you do need translations, you can actually provide them yourself along with the native language transcripts. But again, we use that counselor form. So on the counselor form, your high school counselor or the person in charge of the records is going to tell us a little bit more about your school, about the curriculum, and that helps us to evaluate your transcripts as well. So you do not need to use like a third-party evaluator.
Okay, thank you. So I have another question that
Sure.
I know that the rotation cities are mainly located and in worldwide, and mainly the residence hall are in the downtown or in the city center, we say. So as far as I have concerns, the problem is that most of the downtown in like United States or Argentina, like Buenos Aires or San Francisco, are pretty dangerous and can have safety issues. Have you ever considered? Are there any alternative choices, or are there any solutions to avoid this kind of things like?
Yeah, no, I totally understand the concern. So safety is one of our top priorities, and Minerva has had a very good record of keeping our students safe throughout the past 10 years. So yes, we are located in central locations, but that does not necessarily mean that it's a dangerous part of town. Not every downtown or every part of a downtown is dangerous. And really, we don't send our students to dangerous cities. We pick these central locations because they are accessible so that you can get on the public transportation that's available in the city so that you can really make the city your campus. But we have a lot of safety protocols in place, both within our residence hall. So in terms of how you access the building or if there's security guards at the residence hall, especially in the evenings. Every time you move to a new city, you will have an orientation with the city teams there. And they go through these things. They talk about safety in the city, what to watch out for, because it's very different depending on where you're studying. And so they really make sure that students feel comfortable with their new surroundings. And then, like I said before, we also have those emergency protocols like the emergency phone number. If for some reason you really were uncomfortable in a location, or you really did not feel good about the residence hall, there is a process for requesting to live what we call off campus, right? So you would still be in the city, which is your campus, but you would not be in the Minerva residence hall. We strongly discourage that because the Minerva Residence Hall really is the center of the Minerva verse in that place. And that's where, you really build the community with your fellow colleagues. But we do have some safety reports online. And of course, we can talk you through individually any concerns you might have about certain cities. But I've seen quite a few of our residence halls and locations with my own eyes, and I would happily stay in any of them. So it's definitely something that we hope our students are not worried about, but we also try to prevent any issues from arising.
So, but as far as I'm concerned, the Tenderloin is already kind of the most dangerous place in San Francisco, Tenderloin. And I'm also concerned about whether if the visa cannot be improved as the American, policy recently. Can I study abroad, like from my home country for the first year?
Yeah, so first the Tenderloin. So, the Tenderloin's a really unique neighborhood in San Francisco, but I can tell you that when I go to San Francisco, I stay in a hotel that is directly across from the front door of the residence hall there. And I feel really safe there. So I just want to give you that reassurance. In regards to the visa, yes, I think that's a great question. We know that there is a lot of political news coming out from the United States right now. It's creating a lot of uncertainty, right? Especially with international students. Minerva is probably better positioned than most US universities to pivot and to make it possible for international students to join us. So to give you an example, this year we had about 10 students who were coming into the class of 2029 that started just this month. And they could not get to the US for a variety of reasons. And so they were actually able to begin their studies in Buenos Aires with our third year students who are down there this semester. So we do have a lot of opportunities for students to continue their education if there's a disruption, or to start in a different place if the US is not a possibility for them. Our leadership is following all of the news and the developments out of Washington, D.C. very closely in the coming months. And so if we feel like things are escalating, or if we feel like more students are going to be impacted by visa denials or things like that, we will be sending out information to applicants and admitted students about our plans. So just know it's top of mind for us. Because of the way Minerva is, because we move around the world, we've always had to be nimble to geopolitical issues, whether those be at home or in other countries. So again, this is not something that we're unfamiliar with. And our goal is that for all of you here who want to study with us, we want to make it possible for you to study with us. And so we have flexibility in how we do that.
Okay, thank you. So I have a third question. Is it possible?
Yeah.
So a I will want to do it. So is it possible to how many minors can we choose? Only two, or can we choose three or four with this?
I believe it's two. So I think you can double major, and I think you can have maybe one major and two minors. But I don't, it really just depends on how many courses are going to be required. And you have to make sure that you meet all of the basic requirements of your degree program. If you just had one major, there's plenty of space in your curriculum for elective courses. And whether you want to take multiple electives in a certain area to turn that into a minor is up to you. But there's a lot of flexibility there to really try to mix and match and make it what you want.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, Junhyuk.
I asked the question last time, but can I ask now?
Yeah, sure.
I already signed up with early action. So
Awesome.
I applied to university with early action, and I'm planning to handle out all of my assessments this week.
Great.
But just in case, now I want to be sure Minerva is my first option, but will it negatively affect or like cancel the enrollment if if any of us, any of us signed to the university in our region?
Like if you enroll at a university in your region.
Yeah, yeah.
Generally, no. So you're not generally bound to Minerva until you are admitted and you enroll with us, right? If you enroll with us and say, yes, Amber, I'm coming to Minerva, and then you enroll at a different university, that could impact your offer here. Like your offer could ultimately be rescinded. Sometimes we have students because of the timing. So, like I know in South America, for example, their school year ends in December, and then they have like a whole like 8 months before they would start at Minerva, right? So maybe students want to pick up some extra classes or something during that time. And that's usually fine. I always tell students when you are not sure, just reach out and ask us, and we can double check right before you do something. But generally, applying to Minerva and enrolling at another university is not a problem. If you are already enrolled in a university, somebody earlier asked a question and they had already started at a different university, you need to tell us on your application. If you left that information off, that would be falsifying your application. So make sure if you're already enrolled and you've started your first year at a different university, that's okay. We know you probably don't even have grades for that yet, right? But just make sure that you put all of that information on your application. And then after you apply, especially if you are admitted, if something major changes, just let us know.
I was asking just in case I did. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand. I mean, look, and like students they do get a lot of options, right? And look, if you enroll at Minerva, let's say you're admitted, you pay your $500 seat deposit and you say, yes, I'm coming to Minerva, and then you change your mind, which I hope you won't. But if you do, that's fine. You can always withdraw your application. You would just lose the $500 seat deposit. That's the big penalty there. All right,
I'm
guys.
not planning on it. Thank you.
All right, good. I'm glad to hear it. And good luck with your application. If you're starting the challenges this week, on Wednesday, we're doing the challenge workshop. So in the chat, I am going to put the link to our website where you can register for these other workshops this week. Again, this is where, so tomorrow we're doing a student panel, so you can hear from current Minerva students about their experience and ask them questions. On Wednesday, we are doing the challenges workshop. So it's all about those challenges, and you can kind of see what they will look like and get some tips from my colleague Vivian. On Thursday, we're going to talk only about accomplishments and that section of the application and what our admissions team is looking for. And then Friday, there's a deep dive into the overall admissions process. So it's an admissions Q&A forum. Even if you can't attend, go ahead and register online, because we are recording these sessions like I recorded tonight's, and we will be sending them out to everybody who registers. So pro tip, go ahead and register, even if you know it's in the middle of the night for you or you won't be able to make it. All right, I see a few hands up. So I am going to have Kaya, Masa, and is it Noam and Liz? And then that's it. Those are going to be the last questions for the night. So Kaya, let's go with you.
Hi, thank you so much for going over the time to help us.
Yeah.
So I have two questions. One is
Great.
about, I'm not able to make it to the session, but I'll watch the recorded video. But about the accomplishments, I'm wondering for the area where they ask for kind of a proof, I guess, of your achievements. Say like if you started a club with someone, or like something beyond school, could you have one of your, I know it says not to include friends, but could you have like one of your peers that was part of that process be one of those people?
Yeah, so guys, what Kaya's referring to is, so in your accomplishments, again, you're going to tell us up to 6 things that you've done that you're proud of. And so you'll have the opportunity to tell us what that thing was and what sort of time commitment and impact you made with it. But then you have to prove it, right? So you have to provide what we call evidence to show that this thing happened. So they will, Kaya, go into this more in depth in the accomplishments workshop later this week. So again, just register and they'll send you the recording. But in general, for something like that, we would recommend maybe if there's a school official. So sometimes student organizations have like a teacher that sponsors it, or any teacher who knows that you started this organization, right? And they can write a letter of evidence. This is not a letter of recommendation. It's not a letter telling us how wonderful you are, but it's a letter saying, I was Kaya's teacher, and I can confirm that she started this club with another student and they did these things in this club.
Okay. And then my last question is,
Yeah.
If you took college classes outside of high school, is there a way to include that on your transcript?
Yes, so you can include that. It kind of depends on how it was done in your school district. So some schools, it's going to be included on your high school transcript, like as dual enrollment. For some students, it'll be like a separate transcript. So if it's separate, if it's not something that would be included on your high school transcript, we recommend adding that as a second school that you attended. And then for those type of things, you can just have that school electronically send us the transcripts for those. Most universities, especially those in the United States, do electronic transcripts these days. And so they can just be sent over to us directly.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, is it Masa?
Hi, I'm Massey.
Massey. Sorry about that. Hi, Massey.
Hi. First of all, thank you for your explanations. I had two questions. First of all, I was wondering if submitting the applications earlier would increase the chance of getting accepted or not.
So I always recommend that students apply early. And by early, I mean just within the early action cycle, right? So you have plenty of time. You have until November 1st. But applying early ensures that we still have enough space available in the program, and that we still have a lot of financial aid available. So I think your best chances of getting admitted and getting financial aid happen during this first cycle. As we move throughout the year and we start building out our class of admitted students, right, we end up with fewer and fewer seats and fewer financial aid dollars to give out. So if you can, I highly recommend applying by November 1st.
Okay, thanks. And my second question was that, my last high school year will end in spring, so I will have no grade of my last year for submitting. So I was wondering if I can submit my midterms grades or what.
Yep. So right now, let's say you submit your application today. You will provide us with what you have up until today. Most students, will have the first 3 years of their high school transcripts available. And then once your final transcripts become available, you will submit those. So any student who is admitted and then who decides to attend Minerva, we have a process during the summer where you provide your final transcript from high school. So right now, when you're applying today, Massey, just provide us what you have so far.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. Is it Noam? Noam?
Yeah, it is.
Awesome.
Thank you. So I have a few questions. I'm from New York, so my school doesn't have ranking for our grade.
Mhm.
So on the Common App, they ask for that, so I don't know what to fill out for that.
Yeah, so we ask in our counselor form if there's a rank as well, but you can leave it blank for us. In the Common App, I think you can also leave it blank, or you can just take a guess. A lot of schools are moving to that model where they don't rank their students, but we will ask, for example, okay, how many students are in your graduating class? And how many of those students performed better than you in grades, right? To try to get a sense. We do a lot of deep diving into each individual high school for an applicant so that we have an understanding, because some schools don't even really give traditional grades anymore. So
Yeah.
we rely on the counselor and things to give us that information. But for us, I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Okay, and my second question is, because they offer rolling and early action. Is there a benefit of doing whichever, like early action or rolling?
Yeah, so again, we do early action and then we have 2 regular decision rounds. The benefit with early action is that you will get your decision before the end of December. So before the winter break, you will know whether you have been admitted to Minerva or not. And I just think that's a huge benefit for folks who are applying because then they get that decision early and then we know you're going to apply to other schools. We just won't talk about it, right? But you can then have your Minerva decision while you wait on those other decisions to come in. So that's the biggest benefit. If you don't apply here until like the regular decision one cycle, you're not going to hear back from us until at least March. And then with our regular decision two cycle, you won't hear back until early April. So again, it just really shortens your window of how long you have to further investigate Minerva, take advantage of our admitted student activities and things like that before you have to pay your seed deposit, which will still be May 1st.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, Lise.
Hi, so I got two questions for this. The first one is should I take into any consideration when it comes to dual citizenship on both US and another country?
Yeah, so definitely on our application, we ask you what your primary citizenship is and what your secondary is. It does not impact your admission to Minerva and it does not impact your financial aid. But it will help us when trying to figure out if you will need a visa to the United States, right? If you're admitted and enrolled. It also helps us just in terms of how we work with you throughout the application process. Like if you are attending a US institution or things like that, it can just help us guide you a little bit better. So we always recommend just putting all of that information on your application, but just know that it does not impact how we decide. Like we do not prefer US citizens over non-US citizens or anything like that.
Oh, got it. Thank you. Okay, so another question is so I've been work for about 4 or 5 years after my high school. So I'm not sure whether the transcript or the official document are still exist in the high school. So should I do anything if I'm not sure that whether I can provide. I still can provide some official document like the the graduate certificate, but I'm not sure whether I still can provide like my score or my high score on it.
Yeah, so I would start working on that now. So in general, we are going to require at least your last 3 years of academic information. And that's not just your graduation certificate, right? That would be your actual grades. Most schools, unless they have closed down, maintain those records for a very long time. So even though there might not be somebody at that school that you know personally, there should be someone there that has access to the records that can still complete our counselor form. So what I would recommend is, maybe start thinking about your old high school now, start reaching out to them. And then as you're applying, you will be assigned somebody from the enrollment team that will be working individually with you. And so definitely talk to that person as well, because they can help you navigate that in your home country.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right, everybody. I have to go. I'm in North Carolina on the East Coast, and it's almost my bedtime. But I just want to say this was so much fun. I usually don't have this many people on camera. You are all future Minervans because you got on camera at all times of the day and night, and you asked so many great questions, even if you weren't on camera. And so this has just been so much fun, which is why I stayed 30 minutes over time. Thank you all. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for the fantastic questions. I know I missed a lot of questions in the chat. In the chat, towards the end of the chat questions, you'll see I listed the website where you can sign up for the rest of the events this week. Also, don't worry, we will be running events like this all throughout the application season. So if you don't get around to thinking about your challenges until mid-October, right before the deadline, we will be here running workshops to help you. But really, I also put in the email address for my whole team. Reach out to us and we can get you in touch with the person in charge of your region. I have a phenomenal team of folks that work around the world and they're experts in the places where you are living. So they can really help guide you. We can put you in touch with current students from your region. We want you to feel connected to Minerva even in this application process. So again, I can't thank you enough for your time today, this morning, this evening, this afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Thank you, and we're so excited to see your applications start coming in soon.